I love, love, love the Regina Monologues. There are some inaccuracies in it that I don't care for, and I don't mean stereotypes. I actually loved the stereotypes in this, but I mean actual factual inaccuracies, which I will discuss because they did irk me a little bit. But generally, being British, I found this to be a fabulous episode of The Simpsons. This is the fourth episode of the 15th season, and Bart manages to get enough money to take the family to England. I won't say how the money came about, but it was an interesting enough setup. It worked quite well, but my main interest lies in all of the rest of the episode, which was set in England, mostly London. And when they're there, they meet various famous names, some of whom actually voice their own characters, which I'll talk about in a moment. And Homer gets into a spot of bother, as he usually does. That side of it I didn't love that much, but it gave us some interesting animation. I love seeing how they did England and London in the Simpsons style. I loved seeing the key architecture, the policemen's uniforms. I loved seeing that in Simpsons style. I was really impressed that they got the cars the right way around. There was actually a gag involving driving on the correct side of the road, and some jokes around the way we spell things slightly differently as well, which I rather liked. I just adored it. It is completely stereotypical. Everything about it is a giant stereotype, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I thought it was fantastic. Really, truly adored it. But as I said, there were a few things that kind of annoyed me because there are little things here and there that I feel like they maybe should have got right. And the first one was the pronunciation of Rowling. J.K. Rowling voices her character in this very, very briefly, and they pronounced it Rowling. And that really annoyed me, and I'm sure it annoyed her too when she's in it. They also meet Sir Ian McKellen, who voices his own character, outside of the theatre, but they're apparently not allowed to say Macbeth. But that's not true. You're allowed to say Macbeth when you're outside of the theatre. It's only when you're in the walls of the theatre that you're not allowed to say it. So that was incorrect. And they said candy. They went into a sweet shop, Bart and Lisa, and there's a sign that said candy. And I can understand the shopkeeper saying our British candy, trying to speak the American language, but we wouldn't have a sign that says candy unless it's an American sweet shop, which, to be fair, there are many of them. And they also had this like really quick montage, that's not the right word, of loads of candy bars and things, and there was an O. Henry in that, and we don't have O. Henrys here apart from American candy shops. So there are tiny little inaccuracies. Some inaccuracies are bigger than others, and they just irked me. They really did. But at the same time, like all it would take is one British person going over that script or watching the test episode, and they could have cleaned all of that out, and it would have been perfect. Absolutely perfect. Yeah, as I said, what happened with Homer I didn't love, but it meant we got to see some pretty awesome things being animated, very British things being animated, which I love. We also have a story, or the reason they went to England is because Abe had a brief fling with somebody back in 1944, and he tries to find her. They could have really focused on that a bit more, and I think that would have been a lot more interesting than what happened with Homer, but I didn't mind it too much. What happened ultimately with that part of the narrative was a little bit ridiculous, but a lot of the episode was ridiculous anyway. We also have Jane Leeves, the wonderful Jane Leeves, voicing the character of Edwina, which I love because I love Jane Leeves. So that made me quite happy as well. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. Honestly, I can say as a British person, I lapped up the stereotypes. I absolutely adored them. I loved seeing familiar landmarks and police uniforms and other things in Simpson style. Truly, truly adored it. I have to say the Regina Monologues, I may be biased, but it's one of my favourite episodes.